All right. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and people will still be joining us. We had quite a few people sign up for this, so they'll probably be popping in as we go. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Ryan Weinkoop. I'm one of the Extension IT specialists, and I have with me Nathan Miller. You want to introduce yourself real quick? I think you already typed in the chat, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nathan Miller.
So he's co-presenting today because I put out an article a couple months ago asking for your ideas about how you're using technology in Extension or ways you've seen technology used. And Nathan replied and said, hey, have we tried using Slack? We use Slack within the director's office. Greg Lindbergh kind of makes us use it and forces us to use it sometimes. But we hadn't done Slack as a whole system. And so since it was Nathan's idea, I said, good, you can help me present. So that's why Nathan's here, because he shared an idea. So if you have an idea to share, you might get to help co-host a webinar in the future. So feel free to share your tech ideas, because ideas and opportunities like this happen, so we can share new tools with the whole system. So if you haven't already, feel free to type in the chat. We will use the chat a little bit today. We'll be sharing some links there. And so if you want to familiarize yourself with that, you can type your name, your county, the program area, or what area you work in, or multiple areas. So feel free to go ahead and do that now if you haven't.
Now, Ryan, while everybody's typing that in, I'm curious, if people make a technology suggestion, you will rope them into a webinar of some sort. Is it a requirement that they be bald and have a beard?
It might be, actually. So
okay. Looking at the screen, I think we've got a trend going.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Well, we'll go ahead and jump into our housekeeping for today. So we are on a webinar, so remember to mute yourself. I think everyone has done a good job on that so far, so we don't get any feedback or anything. So make sure you do that. You can type in the chat if you have questions, or if you're comfortable unmuting yourself and asking questions, you're more than welcome to do that as well. We'll have plenty of time at the end to play around in Slack and ask questions. So either typing or verbally ask your questions are fine. This webinar is being recorded, so just keep that in mind as you share ideas and interact on here. And then also the other last housekeeping tip is click buttons today. So we're going to get around in Slack. Some of you have been in there already, have played around with it, but we're just going to take time to click buttons toward the end of the session. So we want you to get comfortable with it. You won't break anything. If you do, then that's okay too. I know that this is one more technology that we're throwing at you. Technology can be frustrating, particularly new technology. It can be frustrating and scary, but this is just introducing you to a tool. You don't have to be good with technology to be on this webinar. We're just showing you another tool that's available that probably some organizations or groups in your communities might even be using. A lot of businesses use Slack. So this is much just about learning what Slack is, as it is about maybe applying it to things we can do in Extension. So I think Nathan will be sharing some ways that we've used Slack, or talking about Slack you might find useful. The CWCs have been using it a little bit. So you'll see some ways that we can use Slack in Extension. But we don't want you to be frustrated or scared with Slack. Just learn about it and decide for yourself if it would be helpful or not.
Yeah, and if I can chip in, Slack, I think, kind of started more into the technology camp. You know, a bunch of nerds built this thing, and there are certain parts of it that are a little bit quirky and can be kind of intimidating at first. When you first log in, it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed by some of the stuff, and we'll talk about including little snippets of code. It's really simple, but it can come across very intimidating. If you start playing around with it a little bit, it'll get a whole lot better. It's very usable once you get used to things.
So again, if you have questions or need us to slow down or repeat anything, don't be afraid to ask. You can type in the chat or unmute yourself. All right, so with that today, again, we're going to talk about how we communicate in Extension, because Slack is really a great tool for communication. So we're going to talk about how we communicate in Slack and identify some common frustrations that we all might have in doing so. And then we'll explore Slack a little bit, learn about what it is, how other groups are using it, and find out how it can enhance our communication and maybe solve some frustrations. And then finally, we'll play with Slack. So
I muted.
Nathan,
Hey,
is this you?
yeah, so let's start. I'm curious how everybody uses communication right now, and what frustrates you most with what we're using at our disposal right now. What are the frustrating parts you run into on a regular basis? And while you're doing that, I think Ryan is dropping into the chat window a link. If you click on that link, you'll be able to type in whatever thoughts you have right into a document, and we'll be able to look at that. So I'll give you just a minute to do that, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Got to admit, it's kind of fun watching other people type.
Yeah. It's just type your response in a separate line.
Or if you don't like somebody, you can, delete theirs and type yours in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, email from all over campus that's not really necessary. Would like to have a way to subscribe or unsubscribe, and actually Slack might be good for that. Hard to figure out what information is most important. Keeping track of communication from key people and community partners. Getting buried. So much email, it's not user friendly. It's hard to search for past email. Ryan, did you tell people what to type in here? Because this touches, this is exactly what Slack can help with.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So while you're typing in the last few things here, let's jump to the next slide. I did a pretty informal poll a couple of weeks ago at an area meeting, and asked people what their frustrations were. The two biggest ones that we ran into were lots and lots of email and too many places for documents and information that you have to gather. With me being under nutrition education, and we have an entire website dedicated to documents, and it's great. There's a lot of really good information in there, but you have to kind of thread your way through a bunch of different menus to find the doc you want. And sometimes where I think a document should be is not where they put it. Well, it's probably because I'm dumber than whoever put it together, but it can still be very frustrating. Some other issues that people cited on our survey, unnecessary email, and we're seeing that in the document that everybody's typing into. Somebody or a few people talked about how it's difficult to communicate with the administration. Some said that their area is heavily paper-based. And then, excuse me, we had one person said that there are a lot of plant IDs, and it's kind of hard to sort out all of that. And actually, that's one that's going to be interesting coming up, because we have a couple of channels designed just for plant ID or communicating about different things. And when we get on the platform, we'll show you kind of how that works.
So thank you for answering that question. We got some good feedback in the chat and also the Google Doc. So we use this to kind of use this for our own information, so we kind of see what your frustrations are. So if there's other tools that come up or trainings we can do, this helps. But it also helps set the stage for why we're introducing you to Slack. So you're probably asking yourself, I think most of you have logged in, but you might not be super familiar with Slack. So let's go ahead and learn what Slack is. So instead of us trying to explain it, I'm just going to let Slack explain it with their own video. So it's about 2 minutes here, and it'll give you more information on what Slack is and what you can do with it.
Welcome to Slack. Slack is a new kind of messaging for teams, bringing all your communication together in one simple place and integrating with the tools you already use. What's different about Slack is that team conversations are organized into channels. You can create channels for departments, projects, office locations, anything you like. Public channels are open, so anyone on your team can pop in to see what's going on and join the conversation. Nice! Great job, everyone! It's not just about messaging, though. You can also share files, images, PDFs, documents, spreadsheets. Look, I've got them right here. You just simply drag and drop them into the right channel, like that. You and your colleagues can add comments along with the document, making collaboration more contextual, transparent, and efficient. If you have a project that's confidential, you can create a private channel. Only the people you invite to the channel will be able to join. And if you need to reach someone directly, you can send them a direct message. It's totally private and secure. You can also send a message to a group of people. It's a great way to communicate with your teammates in a short-term, lightweight sort of way. Oh, this should be good. By the way, if you're offline in another application or just doing research, Slack can notify you when an item needs your attention. Let me get right on this. Everything you post on Slack is searchable. Messages, notifications, files, even the content within those files. Oh, see? There it is. Now, about those integrations I mentioned earlier. Well, with Slack, you can plug in many of the tools and services you already use, and have notifications from those systems appear in whatever channels you choose. Oh, thanks, I think. Best of all, Slack works the way you work. So if you're on the go, you can start a conversation on your desktop and pick it up on our mobile device. Everything's in sync. More productive, more transparent, more efficient, and no more email. That's Slack.
All right, so that was a quick overview of Slack. Just kind of shows you some of the basic features. So before we move too much further, there's a few terms that you'll hear a lot about today. So workspace is the one that you probably heard I mention in the video. So workspace is the space, the main overall space that you log into. So when you all logged into the Purdue Extension Slack, that's Purdue Extension's workspace. So that's where everything is housed. And then specifically, there's channels, and so we'll talk a lot about channels today, and that's what makes Slack most useful. But channel is basically a group or workspace within a specific, or within the workspace about a specific topic, like planning a retreat, for example. And then these channels can be public; anyone can see them or join them, or you can keep them private so that only specific people can join them and have to be invited to join them. So just want to make sure you have that lingo down as we move forward, as we throw around the word channels and workspace. Wanted to make sure you distinguish the difference between those.
Yeah. And Ryan, one thing that we forgot to put on there is direct messages. And we'll probably point to that real quick. A direct message is exactly what it sounds like. You can pick one person to talk to, but it's also possible to have multiple people in a direct message. So think of it as kind of like a group messaging, group text messaging, that sort of thing. It's really good for communicating with just a couple of people at one time. So, what can Slack do for me? I can tell you right off the bat, it will not replace email. I've seen a number of people in the comments and in the document saying email is a big problem, but it can help. I'm curious, does this the video here, is this what your day feels like?
Okay, I need something with a lock. Security, combination, password. Password? Yo!
You've got prayers.
Welcome to the Revelation Superhighway. We bless, no mess. Downloading now. It's good. It's good.
This is gonna take a while. Oh.
127,503 prayer requests.
I better manifest some coffee.
Hola, Juan Valdez.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Disfruta un buen café.
Gracias, señor.
Adiós.
Adios. Ah, now that's fresh mountain-grown coffee from the hills of Colombia. Okay, I had to have made some kind of a dent by now. Oh, come on! Oh. What a bunch of whiners. This is gonna suck up my whole life. You know what? Yes, to all. Yeah, there you go. Now everybody's happy.
Well, I don't know about you, but there are some days where I sit down at the computer and I start hammering out emails, and then I grab my lunch and I hammer out emails while I'm eating my lunch, and I hammer out more emails, and then I look up and the sun's down, and it can really take over your day. And instead of being productive, you're reading through reply alls and checking through documents that don't really apply. Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel. I suspect some of you are the same way. So how can Slack help with that? It is really good for internal communication. This is not a platform that works real well for people from the outside messaging you or getting a hold of you, but it has the opportunity to really get rid of that back and forth reply all and the messages that are broadcast to a whole program area but may not necessarily apply to you. It can really cut down on that sort of stuff. Think of it as kind of like a social network or a communication platform just for Purdue Extension. It's really, really good at cutting down on that. Yeah. Oh, Ryan, I'm afraid you're muted.
Yeah,
There you go.
my mouse is acting up and it won't move around, so I couldn't unmute myself. All right, so you might be asking yourself, it can cut down on email, but will it replace email, or how is it different from email? Well, it's similar, but it's different. Obviously, it's not going to replace our email in that external stakeholders and people like that still need to get a hold of us to ask questions, or community partners need to get a hold of us, those sorts of things. But think of it as reducing internal email. So like Nathan had said, so it really helps with the collaborative, think of it as collaborative messaging. So you can comment in a thread, you can keep the conversation organized. I don't know about you, but I hate when someone sends a Word doc and they say, let's edit this, and then you have 15 emails and 5 different versions of the Word doc. You don't know which one's the most recent. Google Docs can help with that, but commenting on something in an email, gets messy real quick, and it gets hard to sort through everything. So Slack, and we'll show you how to use that a little bit, but that can really help keep those conversations organized. And then again, it can reduce that internal email. So just simply planning a meeting in Extension, can probably take at least 30 emails sometimes. So this can really help with that and get that out of your inbox at least, and keep it in Slack, and then it's done. And there's also some tools that you can use in Slack that can help you plan things. So we'll look at those in a little bit. So how in the world would I use Slack in Extension, and why? So I know that's the question everyone's probably asking themselves. So let's just take a look at how one company uses Slack in a more specific way. And I think some of the things that he says about their company will probably resonate with you in Extension.
When we were using email, what I'd find would be people would post about some news event in different siloed email distributions, and you'd have these conversations going on in parallel, which would be frustrating for me because I'd feel like I'd say something here and then have to copy it here, and people weren't getting visibility of everything. We have a lot of cross-department projects, a lot of projects that are working across different geographies, and Slack just works better than email for getting people to interact and to talk. And you have all the comments that build upon each other in one place, which is a lot cleaner, and it helps people really get more context on what's going on in our industry and be able to listen in and participate.
So the things that stuck out to me there was he was talking about the same topic in different email conversations. So I kind of talked about that in the previous slide. How many times do we have the same information shared on 2 different listservs or 5 different websites, things like that. And so Slack kind of helps with that a little bit if everyone is in the same channel or in Slack. The part that also stuck out to me was the cross-department and the different geographies. We, of course, have many different departments and the entire state of Indiana to work with. So Slack can help bring people together. We don't see each other often throughout the year face-to-face, and so Slack can kind of help build those relationships and work on projects in between with a lot of other different tools beyond email. And then he talked about the comments building up on each other in one place. So again, it keeps the conversation together, helps people understand the bigger idea of the project and see everyone's information and comments in one thread.
Yeah, Ryan, you and I are in different program areas, and I think traditionally, if we had put together this webinar through email, we probably would have had at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen emails back and forth, right? The reply and then the reply of the reply. And then by the time we're done with our communication, there's that huge long list of reply email things below the last one that I want to send. We were able to put this together super, super quick, very simply, and we used mostly used Slack for communication. We were even able to drop files in and share them back and forth, and it was a whole lot more efficient. I think that was a fun little test case of making Slack work in a more efficient way. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get set up on Slack. If the first thing you'll want to do is go to purdueextension.slack.com in your web browser. And if you head there now, just type in purdueextension.slack.com. It'll bring up a login page. If you have already signed up for Slack, just put in your credentials. If not, go ahead right now and sign up for it. Put in the information and get an account set up. Don't worry about doing anything just yet, but get logged in or signed up, and then in a couple of minutes, we'll start playing around in Slack.
And if you're in Slack and you didn't have any problems, just go ahead and give us a message in the chat box. Just say, yes, I'm in, or you're in, or just let us know so that we have a kind of a gauge on who all's in. Good. Looks like everyone's getting in okay.
This is terrific.
So this will be kind of the last time that we use Zoom chat. From here on out, we're going to be communicating in Slack. So if you miss Zoom chat, type all the messages you want now and say goodbye. So while you're getting logged in, I'm just going to talk real quickly about, they mentioned in the Slack video at the beginning about what is Slack, the different ways you can access Slack. And so there is a mobile app. It's available for iOS or Android. It's available on iPads, smartphones, whatever. So you can download it from there. You can also download the desktop app. So I've got the link here on the screen. If you visit there and click Get It on Windows 10, you'll be able to download the Slack app for your desktop. So that way it's always there on your computer. You can get to it easier, but you can also always just access it on the website. And we're going to be using the website version today just because it's easier. Everyone might not have it on their, have the app installed on their computer yet. So we're just going to show you the website today just to keep it easy.
I will admit I'm a little bit of a Slack junkie now, so I have it on my phone and I have it on my computer, and I'll log in on other computers through the website. It's fantastic, and I get a little excited when you hear the little bleep sound that tells you you have a new message.
So we do have, Kelly's having, it says it's not accepting my password. You won't use your Purdue password. This is, you can use your same Purdue password if you want. Okay, she's in now, yeah, but this isn't tied to your career account in any way. So this is kind of creating a separate account, so another password you have to remember. So possible applications of Slack. So we're just going to show you some of these to get your brain going, but you'll have an opportunity in just a minute to share how you might be able to use Slack and extension. So basically, Slack is a great way to share ideas and inspiration with people from outside your program area. It's a great way to get input from others from across the system. We can have specialists, we can have educators, whoever in our Slack space, so you can show or talk about an idea or ask a question and get almost immediate feedback if people are on. The Plant ID channel, we'll talk about that in just a minute. It's a good project collaboration space. So we already have folks who participate in Extension Startup creating private Slack channels so that they can start sharing documents, talking back and forth, kind of keeping their conversation in there so it gets a little more organized. Professional development. Some companies and organizations use Slack to do professional development. They share information and resources in there. They share updates. But then they also use it for staff onboarding. There's companies who use Slack to onboard new staff, to do mentoring and things like that. And then another cool feature of Slack, so our Slack channel is locked down, so you have to have a purdue.edu email address to be able to get into it. So we locked it down because we wanted to keep it to just extension folks. So anyone with a purdue.edu email address could join, but we don't advertise it outside of extension. But you can actually create a Slack workspace that's open to anyone. And so this is really popular, especially with tech groups. If they're sharing ideas or code, or they're talking about new technologies, anyone in the world can join their Slack workspace and join the conversation. So there's even Slack workspaces out there for there's one website that has discounts and stuff like that for different products and websites. So they have a Slack workspace that you can join, and you can get immediately notified when they find like a price glitch on a website. But anyone in the world can join that. And so there's different ways we could use that in extension as well, that you can start brainstorming. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start exploring Slack now. And so Nathan and I are going to kind of bounce back and forth, showing you some different features and having you play around with some things. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. So I'm going to give you just a general overview of the workspace, and then Nathan's going to talk to you about the channels and kind of all that stuff, have you do a few different things and talk about some add-ins, and then I'll talk about notifications. So there's my big picture there. So when you first log in, and it's likely you'll go to the general channel. So if you look here, this is kind of the message board. This is where all the messages go. This is where you can ask questions. You can comment on things. You can search if you're looking for a specific message. You can search up here. On the left-hand side, this is the box where you type your message. You can also add files. So if you've got Google Doc files and stuff, you can also add any file from your computer. So if you have a picture you want to share, or a PDF document, whatever it might be. So you can share all different kinds of things with your message, web links, all different kinds of stuff. You can do emojis, lots of opportunities to communicate. On the left-hand side here, this is where your channels will show up, and Nathan will talk to you about channels in just a second, so you can click through those channels and get all the different information that you might need from those. On the left-hand side here, people that you have direct messaged with will show up, so you can click on the most recent message. So you can see here, this is where Nathan and I were communicating back and forth to plan this workshop. So there's all different kinds of messages in there and documents that we have shared.
And Ryan, with our messaging there, if you could scroll back through that, if we had done this through email, each one of those things would have been a separate email. And instead, it was just a quick little chat message that you could drop in. If you go through there, we dropped some links in. I think I dropped a Word document in there, and we could open that up. And
There's our presentation, so you can share Google Docs.
yeah.
There's our Word doc, our Google Doc that we shared.
And again, that would have been, each one of those little pictures and lines would have been a totally separate email that would have gotten really, really out of hand. It was a whole lot easier to work with here in Slack.
So, any questions on the general overview of the space? Anyone see anything? Just a blank white page. It's the Purdue Extension site. So if you visit, so when you log in for the first time, there's probably a tutorial. So if you look down at the bottom, there should be a button that says you can skip the tutorial. And that should bring you into the workspace. Got it. Perfect. All right.
Perfect.
Any other questions about the general overview? It's pretty simple. Okay. So Nathan, you want to talk about channels?
Yeah. Do you mind if I run the computer vicariously through
Yep.
you?
I just
Or?
give you control.
Oh, well, we'll see how this works. We haven't tested this. Actually, I'll tell you what. Can you go ahead and take control of that, and we'll just try and move through this nice and easily. Yeah. So on the left-hand side of your screen, and you're welcome to look at our webcast here, or go over to the platform right now and have a look. On the left-hand side, you will find kind of a sidebar with a few different options. Let's start with channels. So when you first log in, we have you set up so that you are joined in on a couple of different channels automatically. If you're on your screen at the Slack website, go ahead and click the general channel. It'll have a hashtag or a pound sign and the word general. Click on that. And then just for fun, go ahead and type in a message. Just, I don't know, make something up. And we'll, oh, I'm starting to get messages.
Hello.
I love that little sound, but this is a little overwhelming.
Yeah. So we'll talk about notifications in just a minute. This is a good example.
Yeah. Hey, look at everybody on there. This is great. So you have just pasted in or typed in your quick message into the general channel. Congratulations. So that right there is probably the most complicated part about Slack. It's getting set up and dropping in your first message. That is a lot of little sounds. Okay, so these are just kind of the first couple of channels that everybody's dropped into. Let's look real quick and see how many other channels there are. So if you are on your screen, go ahead and click the word channels up at the top. Yeah, Ryan's got it highlighted on our video here.
So you just click the channels heading right there.
Yep, click the word channels and start scrolling through. These are the channels that we have set up already. Some of them Ryan and I set up. Some of them other people from around the state set up. And Ryan, remind me, do all the users have that button up there in the right-hand corner that says create channel?
Yes, so everyone right now, you can, if you want to create a channel for your group, you're welcome to create a channel about a topic. If you want a private channel, you need to contact me. You can just message me through Slack, and we can make it private so that you, and then you have the ability to invite people then. So you should all be able to create a channel if you want to.
And a private channel is truly that. It's completely hidden from this page. So if you want to have a, I don't know, you want to create a private channel that's complaining about bald guys with beards doing webinars, you can do that. Ryan and I will never see that. Well, I guess you might, but Greg's cheating. He's already doing a GIF or a GIF. But you can create a channel for anything privately. Contact Ryan, and he can help you get set up with that. If you want a public channel, Ryan, can you click on the channels button again?
Yep.
Yeah, so all you have to do is click that green button, and it'll give you some options for, you put in whatever channel name you want, and you can invite people to it. When it says invite people to it, those are people who are already on Slack. Yep, you'll get a drop-down list. You can type people in. Ryan, do you want to create that new channel and call it Bald Guys with Beards?
No, they'll talk bad about us.
You can go ahead and hit cancel. The other option in that is if you hit the channels button, you can join whatever channels are already in place. So I think Terry set up the plant ID one. That's actually had some good activity already. I've seen some good communication on that channel. And as more people get involved, you'll probably see, yeah, isn't that neat? Look at all those different IDs that people are doing. And it's so easy to drop a picture in there or put in some text, and you can reply and talk about, the ID that they're looking for. You guys could have a full conversation. I want you to imagine doing that thing right there over email and how frustrating and complicated it would get. On Slack, it's just an inline, kind of a text message thread that you can go through. Over email, it would be a reply, then a reply all, and more reply alls, and before you know it, it's really out of hand. So, okay.
I had a great question here. I'm in the chat from Tom. So couldn't you create a private channel outside the extension workspace? Absolutely. So if you want to create a separate workspace completely with a group that you're working on, you can certainly do that. It's free. Slack is free. So we're using the free version right now. It does have some limitations, of course, but you can upgrade to a paid plan. But if you are working, so like I said, our workspace is locked down to just people with Purdue.edu email addresses. If you're working on a community project, maybe you're working with multiple organizations on a project in the community, and you want to create a Slack space for everyone with different email addresses, they can all join your Purdue workspace, whatever you want to call it. You can then have channels in between there. So if you need a channel to work on a budget for the project, you need a channel to work on marketing for the project, whatever that might be, you can absolutely create your own workspace. But the Purdue Extension workspace is a great place to kind of help bring everyone at Purdue Extension together to have those conversations, and then to also collaborate and share ideas and ID plans.
Mm-hmm. So let's go real quick back to the channels sidebar there. On your web browser or in the app, let's get signed up to another channel. So if you click on channels, it's going to pop up a screen, and then scroll down or type in the word intro, INTRO. So on our screen, we have the intros channel. We set this up, was it yesterday or the day before, just as kind of a place where maybe you could introduce who you are and help people know that you're on Slack. So, free Slack channel. So if you clicked on the intros, the intros channel on your screen, there should be an option to join that. If you click join, it'll pop you into the intros channel, and it'll also keep it on the left-hand sidebar there where you see general and random already. And that means you're joined into a public channel called intros. So if you like, go ahead and do that right now. And you should see more and more people populate that.
We're up to 23 people.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. It was combining it all together on my screen. I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. So this is the place, so again, like I said, we all might not know each other in Purdue Extension. There's a lot of new people that come on board all the time. So this is just a place where you can introduce yourself. So if at any time someone's typing in the general channel and you're like, who in the world is that? You can go to the intro channel, and maybe you can search real quick and see who this person is if they've introduced themselves. You can also fill out your profile on Slack, so you can put just a short little bio there, and people can learn and see your picture from that way. So you see A couple people have put their pictures up, so that helps too to figure out who everyone is.
Are you hearing all the little sound bubble things?
Yes. So
okay.
What I'm going to do now is tell everyone about notifications, and we'll switch up the order a little bit, Nathan, so that way when everyone starts playing with all the cool add-ins you're going to show them, we don't get all these notifications. So let's say you're getting all these notifications. Slack is particularly active one day, and you're like, I can't take it anymore. I need to turn off some notifications. If you look up here, there's a couple options you have. So if you click this little bell next to your name, you can actually snooze all the notifications in Slack for a period of time. So let's say you just need an hour of silence. You can click for an hour. I won't get any notifications for the next hour. So it keeps them from popping up. I won't be disturbed. I can focus on some deep work, whatever. Maybe I'm on a webinar or whatever it might be. You can shut them off. You can.
I think I'm going to click that one right now.
Yeah. You can also shut off notifications for specific channels. So let's say I'm interested in the A&R plant help. The one thing I should mention about this channel is that the A&R plant help is a public channel. So even if you're not in A&R, but you know what a plant is, or you have a plant yourself and identified, you can drop it in there. But let's say you're in this channel, but you don't necessarily want notifications. So if you look in any channel you're in, and you go up here, it's next to the search bar, and click channel settings, the little gear icon. You click that, and you look down here under notification preferences, or you can click on notification preferences, but you can also click mute A&R plant help. What that'll do is it keeps you in the channel, so you can go check it whenever, but you'll never get a notification specifically from that channel. So if I were to turn my notifications back on by clicking the little notifications bell up here next to my name, if I were to turn those back on, I would get notifications from every channel except A&R plant help. So that's just kind of a way to help you manage those notifications. But obviously everyone's in here all at once. Notifications won't be that hectic and crazy at any time unless people really just buy into Slack. But that's just a way to help you kind of manage the notifications. Any questions on that?
While people are typing that, Slack just reminded me of another little tiny feature. On the left-hand side above the word channels, there's a link that says new threads. Even if you have things muted or notifications turned off, if you want to jump in and see all the different things that have been going on that are related to channels you're in or people you're talking to, you can click all threads and it's going to give you kind of a quick rundown, so you don't have to jump from channel to channel and figure out what's going on from one to the other. Yeah. So Ryan, we're kind of running a little. I think I'm too wordy. I talk too much. We're running a little behind. Can we demo the codes really quick?
Yep. Let's talk about replying in a thread, and then.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So let's say, for example, let's take a look at the A&R plant help. So it's down here since I muted it. So let's take a look in here. So you can see someone posted a picture. Who was that? Jenna posted a picture, and you see here there's 6 replies. So this is where the organization of communication comes in. It's very, very helpful if when you're replying to someone's question or you want feedback on something, that you reply in a thread. So let's say you wanted to reply on Jenna's picture. All you'd simply do is you hover over her original post, and you notice that this little bar comes up here. So this is where you can add a reaction. So this is where you can respond with emojis if you want, but you don't have to do that. But if you look here, when you hover over, you see this little speech bubble. It says reply to thread. Click that, and then it will kind of bring up the original post, and then it brings up everyone else's comments in that thread, and it keeps your comment specific to that post. So that way there's not a random post. Someone posted a picture of a plant and they wanted it ID'd, and then there's just your random post there in the channel that says, this is a marigold. Where did that come from? So it helps keep the conversation organized.
Oh, it's so wonderful too. You can have so much conversation kind of centered around one little topic, and it doesn't make the whole thing all plugged up with random messages. It's just so much fun to get in on these little conversations.
So if you want to go ahead and show us the tags and all that kinds of stuff, and then we'll get time to play.
You mean like
The hash,
bringing up a GIF and stuff?
yeah, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll let you keep driving on this. If you want to call out a specific person on a message, say Ryan, right now you're in the general channel, and yeah, you wanna make sure I see some sort of comment that you put in there. You just put in the @ symbol, and then you type in their name, and it'll bring up a little window with the different options, and you can click on that, or if it highlights it, you can just hit enter and it'll put it in there. So Ryan just called me out on a message. On my side, on my platform over here, it'll tell me that Ryan, hey, Ryan mentioned you in a comment. So that's a great way if you want to bring somebody into a conversation, or just make them aware of something that's going on. It's a real quick way. Oh, Claire's already doing that. That's fantastic. So another thing that you can do, and this is absolutely not necessary, you can use Slack with what we've shown you. You can use Slack for the rest of your life and not have to worry about anything else. But there are some neat little things. And remember when I said early on, it can be a little bit nerdy. I think this was designed by computer coders, and they added some little nerdy things in. Ryan, on our notes for the presentation, I dropped in a couple of codes.
Yep.
So you can just copy and paste. Do you want to do the GIF one first?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
actually, let's have Greg. Greg knows how to do it. Greg, do you want to
Okay.
demonstrate?
For the GIFs?
Yeah.
Yes, you simply just put a backslash into the message box, and then you write in the word Giphy, and that's spelled Giphy, and then you put a space, and then you enter in any word that you would like, and then you press enter, and it won't post it. It'll give you some options of GIFs that you can shuffle through. So
Well, I know, Richie.
don't worry about like posting some GIF that isn't appropriate. You can get a chance to preview it before you post it. And, we have it set to appropriate GIFs anyways, I assume.
Yeah. This is a small, silly thing, but they are so much fun. I probably overshare GIFs, but sometimes it's just the right way to say something that just words won't do. Yeah, so another thing is weather. We have a weather plugin put in there. So /forecast, and then you can put in your zip code or a city, and it'll put out, I think it's a 5-day forecast. Again, not necessary for your work, not necessary to use Slack, but it is a nice little quick way to do your work if you need it. I was thinking about this during the state fair. Maybe you have a conversation, you're going to head over there and meet some other staff for some work. Typically the question is, I wonder what the weather's going to be. Well, in Slack, if you're having that conversation in Slack, you can just type /forecast and then put in Indianapolis or the zip code that you're headed to, and it'll pop up.
I can't figure out how to get it to work for some reason. I don't know why.
Uh-oh.
You have to click.
That should have worked. Well, we'll work on that later. Another one, Ryan, if you want, you can copy the text out of our notes. We also have a poll, a poll or a survey code kind of thing plugged into this. Maybe I should say it's a plugin. Oh, I like that. Tom, I like that GIF. Now the polling GIF is a little bit quirky. It takes a little bit of work to make it function correctly, but it is way faster than sending an email to 8 people and saying, "Hey, what meeting date should we all get together or join the WebEx?" and then having everybody reply all back to you, and then everybody else replies back to everybody else, and it gets really messy. You could put up a poll really quick, and is it working for you? So maybe there's some.
Oh, there we go.
There it goes. So actually, everybody, if you're on the general channel and see what Ryan put up, you could participate in this poll. I put some of my favorite movies, like really high class movies like Dumb and Dumber and Napoleon Dynamite. You could participate in that poll right now. Now imagine if you're with a small group of friends in a private discussion, you could drop a poll in there and gather information, or you could put it out to the whole group or to specific segments. It's really handy. Again, it's a little bit clunky to use because you have to type in a little bit of code type stuff, but it's totally doable. And once you get used to it, it's almost second nature. So that's just a few of the things. There are so many different plugins that you can add to Slack. If there's some integration that you're looking for, hit Ryan up and see if we can get it plugged in.
So we have a few questions here in the chat. So the first one is, are the messages saved in case you need to refer or save for future use? Yes. So
yes.
We are in the free account, so it does limit us to the most 10,000 recent messages. It sounds like a lot, but once you get, we have 153 people in here. If they're typing every day, that could fill up messages quick, but they'll still be around, and you can use the search. So again, if you're in a particular channel and you need to search for something specific, if you're in the A&R plant help and you're looking see if someone already has a plant they've identified, you can search for that name or whatever. So yes, the messages are saved for future use. Another question: does it integrate well with doodle polling? Do you know if it integrates with Doodle? I haven't checked.
I bet it does, but I haven't thought to check. I'll jot that down.
Greg, do you know if it integrates with Doodle? I don't know if we've tried that.
I haven't tried Doodle either, no.
I'll check on that. It's funny, I just put together a Doodle poll this morning. I wish I would have thought of that.
So we've got about 10 more minutes. So if you want to keep asking questions, but please play around in Slack here, explore the features, but we'll be around to answer questions.
Yeah. Ryan, one thing that the question about searching reminded me, we didn't really show how to add files to this. If you have a Word document or a PDF or something, when you create a message in a channel, you can just drag that file right onto the message, and it'll upload that into Slack, and then it'll make that searchable. So
here, I've got one I can share here.
Yeah, it may help you disseminate different documents around the state a whole lot faster than putting it up on a dedicated website. Yeah, and if you're on the website, if you jump back over to Zoom, Ryan's uploading a website or a file right now.
In the Cool Tech channel.
Cool Tech.
That's just a PDF, so you just drag and drop it, and it's there. You can add a message. You can share with multiple channels. You can share the same document, whatever you want. I do want to mention I did create this channel called Help. So if you don't know where to go, if you have a question, if you need to know if Slack can do something, if you just have a question about something else related to extension, you can ask it here, and then we can either find an answer or direct you to the right channel or wherever it might be. So you can, there's a help channel, so use it. Make sure you join that. There's also, I forgot to mention, Nathan, the taco salad recipes channel.
Oh, most important.
This was one of the first requests for a channel that we had. Thank you, Sam Johnson, 4-H in Allen County. He wanted a taco salad recipe. So if you have a delicious taco salad recipe you want to share, I'm still trying to figure out what the difference is between taco salad and broken up nachos. So you can debate here if you'd like. So that's just a fun one to use.
And really, that's what I love about Slack, is it can be whatever you want it to be. It's very organic in how it changes and grows. And just dream. If you have other people on Slack, dream about how you can use it, and it probably can be used in that way.
I think there is also, let's see, there's a channel for marketing. So if you have questions on, or you want to show off, Nathan, you created this. So if you want to talk about marketing, extension programs, or share ideas on how you've marketed, you can do stuff there. Urban Ag, Salesforce, all kinds of stuff here. So make sure you join and discuss.
Well, Ryan, in the last few minutes here, should we take discussion over to Slack and have people type in, maybe in the general channel, any questions they might have or thoughts?
Yep. So go ahead now and just keep playing in Slack. If you have questions, ask us in the general channel or in the help channel.
We have a question from Steve. How do you invite an external person to a channel?
Well, this one, yeah, you normally can do that, but we did lock down. So this particular Purdue Extension workspace is for only at purdue.edu email addresses. But if you created a workspace separate outside of this for a community group, then yeah, you could just invite them with their email address.
And Ryan, maybe we should show him how to invite people from Extension who are not on Slack now.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I think.
Click on Purdue Extension.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you click on the word Purdue Extension up in the left-hand corner, and then it'll bring up a menu, and you can click Invite People. Make sure when you put in their information that you Slack shame them for not being on there already. So send any. I think you can put in comments, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, so you'll have to send them a separate message and just say shame on you for not being on Slack already. Don't do that. I'm just joking.
Is there a maximum file size you can share? So again, with the free account that we're using, we are limited on storage space. So you don't want to share like a gigabyte size file, but what you can do is you can drop that big file into like a Google Drive or something like that with a public link that you can share, and you can just share the link in in a specific channel or whatever, and then people can go outside of Slack. But if you're just dropping, a small PDF in here, that's not going to be a huge deal. All right, about 3 more minutes here. Any final questions?
And Ryan, I'll plan on staying around Slack for a while. So if anybody has a question, feel free to send a direct message to me or put it on the general channel, any questions you might have.
So as far as direct messaging,
yes, thank you.
Real quick, if you go to the direct messages and you just click the little plus sign, and then you can just type the person's name. So I'll just type in Nathan, and he pops up. And then you can put multiple people in, of course, and you just click go, and then it'll open up it looks like the regular Slack space, and then you just type the message. And this is between just you and them. No one else can see it.
Mm-hmm. Think about how much more efficient that is than sending an email to everybody and expecting a reply all.
So if there's no other questions in Zoom, I will go ahead and close us out. I did record this webinar, so it'll be available if you want to watch it again. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and close out our Zoom webinar, and you can hit us up in Slack.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.